You know that feeling when you get a raise at work? Like you've been grinding for months, maybe years. You finally get that bump in salary, and for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 if you're disciplined, it feels amazing. And then, somehow, by the end of the month, you're in the exact same position you were before the raise. Same stress, same I'll start saving next month, same feeling of watching money disappear without knowing where it went. If that sounds like you are not alone. And more importantly, it is not your fault. But here's the thing. There are people out there with the same salary as you, sometimes less, who are quietly building real wealth. Not because they got lucky, not because they had rich parents, but because somewhere along the way, they picked up a completely different set of habits. And today, I want to show you exactly what those habits are, and more importantly, why they work. My name is Alexa, and I spend way too much time thinking about why some people build wealth and others stay stuck, even when the numbers say they shouldn't be.
If you're someone who feels like no matter how much you earn, you can never seem to get ahead, if every raise just seems to disappear, if you're tired of watching other people talk about investing while you're still figuring out how to make it to payday, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you out. Because what I'm about to share with you isn't theory. It's a pattern, and once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. Let's get into it. Okay, before we talk about habits, I need to address the thing nobody wants to say out loud. When most people hear habits of the rich versus the poor, they roll their eyes. And honestly, I get it, because a lot of this content online is just rich people wake up at 5 a.m. and journal. Poor people watch Netflix. It's shallow, it's condescending, and it misses the entire point. So let me be clear about what I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about rich people who inherited money. I'm not talking about hustle culture nonsense. And I'm not here to tell you that poor people are lazy or that wealthy people are morally superior.
What I am talking about is this. There are specific, learnable patterns in how people think about and interact with money, and those patterns, over time, compound into completely different financial realities. Here's what most people don't realize. According to a study by Thomas Corley, who spent 5 years researching the daily habits of 233 wealthy individuals and 128 people in poverty, the biggest differences weren't about how hard people worked, they were about how people thought, specifically how they thought about time, money, and risk. That's the real conversation, so let's have it. Let me start with the most fundamental difference, and it's not about income, it's about what money means to you. For most people, and I was in this camp for a long time, money is something you earn and then spend on your life. Salary comes in, bills go out, whatever's left, if anything, gets saved. Money is a resource. You use it up. But here's what wealthy people, self-made wealthy people, understand at a deep level. Money is not just a resource. Money is a tool. And more specifically, money is a worker. Every dollar you have can either sit there and do nothing, or it can go out and work for you. Earn more dollars while you sleep. Now, you might be thinking, Alexa, that sounds great in theory, but I don't have extra money to invest. And I hear you. But stay with me, because this mental shift changes everything else on this list. When you see money as a tool, as something that can work for you, you stop asking, what can I buy with this? And start asking, what can I build with this? That one question, that's the fork in the road. 2 people, both earn $50,000 a year. Person A thinks of money as a resource to spend. Person B thinks of money as a tool to deploy. Person A saves $200 a month, occasionally, when they remember. Person B saves $500 a month, automatically, before they touch anything, and puts it into a simple index fund. Over 30 years, assuming a 7% average annual return, Person A has maybe $60,000 saved. Person B, over $600,000. Same salary, same city, completely different outcome. The math doesn't lie, but the math starts with the mindset. Okay, this one is so simple it's almost embarrassing that most people get it backwards. The default behavior for most of us is to spend first and save what's left, right? Paycheck arrives, rent, groceries, subscriptions, going out, and then at the end of the month, if there's anything left, maybe we put it aside. Here's the problem. There's almost never anything left because expenses expand to fill whatever income you have. It's almost like a law of financial physics. Wealthy people, or more accurately, people building wealth, do the exact opposite. They save first. They automate a transfer the day their paycheck arrives, before they've touched anything, before they've checked their bank balance and decided how they feel. The money moves automatically. This is called paying yourself first, and I know you've probably heard that before, but I want you to really sit with why it works. It works because it removes the decision entirely. Willpower is not a reliable financial strategy. Automation is. Think about it like this. You've never missed paying rent because you forgot, because rent is not optional. It's automatic in your mind. What if you treated your savings the same way? Non-negotiable, automatic, done before you even see the money. And here's where it gets really interesting. Studies in behavioral economics consistently show that people adapt to their available income. If you automatically move 400 rupees into savings before you spend anything, within 2 or 3 months, you stop noticing it's gone. You adjust, you adapt. But if you wait until the end of the month to save, you'll spend it. Every time. Not because you're irresponsible, because that's just how human psychology works. Rich habit? Automate savings first, live on the rest. Default habit? Live first, save the fantasy leftovers. Here's something that surprised me when I first started studying wealthy people. The average CEO reads 52 books a year. Now look, I'm not saying you need to read a book a week, but think about what that signals. These are some of the busiest people in the world, and they're still carving out time to learn. Compare that to the average adult who reads fewer than 5 books a year after college. Here's the thing. Wealthy people, people building real wealth, treat self-education as an investment, not a hobby, an investment. Because every skill you develop, every insight you gain, every pattern you learn to recognize has a potential financial return. This doesn't mean going back to school, it doesn't mean expensive courses, it means being intentional about what you're putting into your brain. Now, you might be thinking, Alexa, I barely have time to do laundry. When am I supposed to read? And that's fair. But here's what I want to challenge. Most people spend 2 to 4 hours a day on their phone, scrolling, not because it makes them happy. Studies consistently show it doesn't, but because it's frictionless. What if even one of those hours went toward learning something that compounds? A podcast while you commute, an audiobook while you cook, one chapter before bed instead of 30 more minutes of doom scrolling. The person who commits to learning for 1 hour a day will be unrecognizable in 5 years. That's not motivation talk. That's compounding applied to knowledge. Okay, this is the one that I think explains more than anything else on this list. Most people are taught by their parents, by school, by culture, that risk is bad, that safety is the goal. Get a stable job, keep your money in a savings account, don't gamble with what you have. And look, some of that is good advice. Having an emergency fund, being debt-free, having job security, that stuff matters. But here's what most people don't realize. There are 2 kinds of risk. The risk you can see, volatility, market drops, the possibility of losing money on an investment, this is what most people are afraid of. And then there's the risk nobody talks about, the risk of doing nothing. Keeping your money in a savings account earning 2% while inflation runs at 5 or 6%. That's a guaranteed loss in real terms, every year, silently. Wealthy people understand this distinction. They're not reckless, but they've made peace with calculated risk. They understand that not investing is itself a risk. It's just a slower, quieter one. And here's the psychological piece that really matters. People who are afraid of financial risk tend to avoid thinking about money altogether. It's too stressful. So they don't look at their accounts, they don't make a budget, they don't learn about investing because learning about it feels like inviting the scary thing closer. But avoidance doesn't make risk go away. It just means you're not managing it. This is the one that gets people, even people who are doing everything else right. Here's a story. Someone I know, I'll call him Daniel, worked his way from earning $40,000 a year to $120,000 over about 8 years. Impressive, right? Real discipline, real career growth. But at $40K, he had a modest apartment and a used car. At $60K, he got a nicer apartment. At $80K, he leased a new car. At $100K, he moved into a place with a gym and a rooftop. At $120K, he had the lifestyle that matched the salary. And his savings rate? Almost identical to what it was at $40,000, because every raise got eaten by a lifestyle upgrade. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the silent wealth killer. Here's the math that should genuinely shake you. Let's say Daniel had kept his lifestyle at $60K, just one upgrade from his starting point, and invested the difference from $60K to $120K. That's roughly $3,000 a month going into investments. Over 10 years at a 7% return, that's over $500,000, $500,000 that he spent on a nicer apartment and a car that's now worth less than half what he paid for it. Wealthy people, people building real wealth, delay lifestyle inflation, not forever, but strategically. They upgrade slowly and intentionally. They let their investments grow first. Live like you're still broke, even when you're not. That's the phrase I keep coming back to. It sounds harsh, but it's really just playing the long game. Okay, I want to be careful here because this can come across wrong, but it's too important to skip. Jim Rohn's famous line, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Now, I'm not saying drop your friends if they're not rich. That's not the point. The point is, your environment shapes your defaults. If everyone in your circle eats out every night, you eat out every night. If nobody in your circle talks about money or investing, it never feels urgent. If the people around you treat debt as normal and savings as optional, that becomes your baseline. Wealthy people, or more accurately, people on a wealth-building path, tend to be intentional about creating environments where good financial behavior is normalized. Maybe that's a community online. Maybe it's one friend who's also trying to figure this stuff out. Maybe it's just the podcasts and content you consume daily. Your environment is either pulling you forward or anchoring you in place, and most people never stop to audit which one it's doing. Here's what I want you to notice about every single habit I just described. None of them require a high income to start. Automating savings, you can start with 50 rupees a month. Investing in your education, libraries are free. Managing lifestyle inflation, that's literally about spending less. Changing your mindset about money costs nothing. The reason most people don't do these things isn't lack of money, it's lack of awareness. And sometimes it's something deeper. It's the belief that wealth is for other people, that the system is rigged, that it's too late to start. Here's what most people don't realize. Wealth is not an event. It's not a lottery win or an inheritance or one brilliant business idea. Wealth is a direction, and you can choose that direction right now, today, regardless of where you're starting from. All right, I don't want to leave you with just theory. Here's what I want you to actually do. Step 1, automate 500 rupees, or whatever you can, this week. Set up an automatic transfer from your account the day after your paycheck hits. Even if it's small, start the habit. Prove to yourself it's possible. Step 2, audit your lifestyle upgrades. Look at your last 3 raises. Did your expenses go up proportionally? Be honest. If yes, that gap is your wealth building opportunity. Step 3, spend 20 minutes this week learning something financial. 1 YouTube video, 1 podcast episode, 1 chapter of a book. Put it on your calendar like a meeting you can't skip. Step 4, find one person, just one, who is also trying to build better financial habits. Accountability is not a soft thing, it's a multiplier. Look, the difference between where you are and where you want to be financially is rarely about income. It almost never is. It's about patterns. It's about the quiet decisions you make every day that nobody sees. The decision to save before you spend, to learn before you upgrade, to delay the reward and let the investment grow. Rich people aren't playing a different game. They're playing the same game. They've just figured out a few rules that most people were never taught. And now, you know them too. So make the move this week. Not next month, not when you get your next raise, this week. If this video helped you see something differently, smash that like button. Subscribe if you want more of this. And drop in the comments, which of these habits are you starting with?